Okay, welcome back. In the last video, we started making our pickup widget BP, and we've set this up with two major boxes called the left box and the right box. Now, the left box contains everything here that we see, including the E icon and the pickup text. Now, the right box, however, is empty, and we're going to continue by placing things in the right box. Now, in the right box, we're going to add two vertical boxes. So we can drag them onto the right box and make sure they're children of the right box. We're going to set them both to fill, and the top I'm going to set the fill size to 0.55. For the bottom, after setting it to fill, I'm going to set the fill size to 0.45. So this gives us an area on the top that we can put text for the name, and an area on the bottom that we can use to hold other information. Now we're going to call the top box right upper box, and the bottom one we'll call right bottom box. Now for the right upper box, we're going to add an overlay so that we can stack things. So overlay onto the right upper box. And on top of the overlay, we'll add an image. Now I'm going to call this right upper background. I'm going to set it to fill horizontally and vertically. Now it's not filling the whole thing, so I need to go to the overlay here and set that to fill as well. Now for the right upper background, I'm going to set its color and opacity to a light blue color. So something like this. And I'll click OK. Now we're going to do the same thing for the bottom. We're going to first add an overlay onto the right bottom box, and then we'll add an image on top of that. I'm going to call this image right lower background. I'm going to set the overlay to fill and set the right lower background to fill both horizontally and vertically. And for the color and opacity, I'm going to set this to a slightly darker blue. So we'll go for a blue here, and I'll bring the value down just a bit. So we'll go with something like this. Now for the overlay in the right upper box, we're going to add some text. So I'll get a text from the palette and drag it onto the overlay, and I'm going to call this item name text. I'm going to set its horizontal alignment to left and its vertical alignment to center, and I'm going to give it some padding on the left, approximately 15. So that way it's aligned to the left, but it still has some padding there. Now I can set its font. I want it to have regular font. Now for the overlay in the right bottom box, I'm going to add a horizontal box. So I'll bring a horizontal box down, and I'm going to call this item info box. And I'll set its horizontal and vertical alignment to fill. Now in the item info box, I can add multiple items. I'm going to add multiple boxes. They can be horizontal or vertical, so I'll use horizontal box. So I'm going to drag in 3 boxes onto item info box. Now the first one I'm going to call icon box. This is where the icon for the item will be. If it's a weapon, I'd like it to be an icon representing the type of ammo that it takes. The middle one I'm going to call amount box, and this will be a number that shows how much there is of something. If it's a weapon, it'll be how much ammo it has. The third I'm going to call rarity box, and this will contain an area for stars to show the rarity, 1 being the least amount of rarity, 5 being the rarest an item can be. Now I'm going to set these each to fill, so they all take up as much space as possible. And for the icon box, I'm going to set its size to 0.2. For the amount box, I'll set its size to 0.1. And for the rarity box, I'll set its size to 0.7. And I'm going to click on the bottom right corner and just drag this up a little bit like that. And we'll tweak these if we need to. Now I'm going to give this item info box a padding of 5 to squeeze it in just a little bit. And for the ammo icon box, we're going to want an image. So I'm going to stick a canvas panel in there on top of icon box. Now for the canvas panel, I'm going to select fill, and then I'm going to put an image on the canvas panel. I'm going to call this image ammo icon. And with the ammo icon image selected, I'm going to select anchors and choose the middle, so it's anchored to the middle. This means that 0, 0 for the X and Y are the center. Now I'm going to give it a size X and size Y of 30 pixels and a position X of -15 and a position Y of -15, and that way it'll be centered to the anchor. And now we need an icon for this. So back here in our icons folder, go ahead and click Add Import and Import Asset, and in the icons folder, double-click Ammo Icons and select smallammo.png. Import that, open it up, and set the compression settings to User Interface 2D. Save it and close it. And now for Ammo Icon, for the brush, click the drop-down, and for the image, we're going to select small and use small ammo. Now if you click away, you'll see the small ammo icon. And because ammo icon is on a canvas panel, we can anchor it to the middle and set its location and size so that it's centered. If we click on the corner and scale it down, you'll see that it doesn't stretch. It stays the same size, which is what we want. Now that's actually what we want for this E icon as well. And because it's stretching, according to where I squeeze the box, I know that I made a mistake up here when I added this icon. If we go back and go to the left box and open left top box and open the overlay, you'll see the circle icon here is not in the canvas panel. And that's why we didn't get an anchor. But if we take the circle icon and drag it on top of the canvas panel, now we can take our circle icon and we'll have an anchor option. We can anchor it to the middle, and we can give it a size X and Y and a position X and Y. So we'll give it a size X of 60 and a size Y of 60. And for position X, we'll give it -30 and Y -30, and that will center it. Because the image has an upper left origin, so we can raise it up by its half height and left by its half width. Now if we squeeze in the size of the widget, we're not going to squish that icon. Now we're ready to add text to the ammo amount box. So scroll down, click the ammo amount box, and we're going to get a text from the palette. Drag it and put it onto the amount box and rename this item amount. I'm going to give it an arbitrary number like 12 and scroll down to the font and make the font a reasonable size. I'm also going to give it regular instead of bold for the typeface. Now I'm going to select center for both horizontal and vertical, and since it's a little too big, I'm going to actually make the widget a little bigger. And I think I'll go ahead and give the icon box some padding on the right. Let's say 2.5. And I'll give the amount box some padding on the left and the right. Let's say 2.5 for both. And I'll give the rarity box some padding on the left of 2.5. That way there's a spacing of 5 in between these boxes. Now it looks like the 12 still doesn't quite have enough room. So I'm going to take the icon box, and instead of 0.2, I'm going to give it 0.15. And the amount box, I'll give it also 0.15. I think that looks better, but we'll adjust this if we need to. The font could probably go down to about 14 to accommodate for another digit. I don't think I'm going to want there to be more than 4 digits for any amount. Finally, for the item rarity, we're going to want 5 boxes to have star icons. So give this box 5 horizontal boxes. These could really be vertical or horizontal. Now I'm going to name these star 1 for the first one, star 2 for the second box, star 3 for the third, star 4 for the fourth, and of course star 5 for the sixth. They're going to all use the fill setting. So they all fill the same amount. Now for the rarity box, I'm going to give the top and bottom padding until the stars are relatively square. So I'm going to try 2.5 for the top and bottom, and that looks relatively square, but I can try 2.75. And that looks a bit better. I'm going to give each star box its own padding on the left and right as well. And now it's looking like they could probably use more padding on the top and bottom. So I'm just going to take the rarity box itself and give the top and bottom both padding of 5. And now they look relatively square. Now we need the icons for the stars. So in our icons folder, now click Add Import, Import to Game. The textures folder that you downloaded and unzipped from the GitHub account, textures.zip, in icons and weapon icons, there's staricon.tga. Go ahead and open that, and we have a star icon. If you double click it, then you can change the compression settings to user interface 2D and save it. And close. Now for star 1, go ahead and select it, and we're going to add an image onto the star 1 box. Call this star 1 icon. Select fill, use center for horizontal and vertical, and for the brush image, search for star icon and select star icon. Now repeat that step for boxes 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. So this completes our creation of the basic overall layout of our pickup widget. Now, you might be annoyed by the fact that we only have one font. So before we conclude this video, I'm going to show you how to get some free fonts and import them into this project. Now, if you search for free fonts, there's lots of websites that have free fonts. I'm just going to select this first one, which is 1001 free fonts, and I'm just going to scroll down until I find a cool font that I like. Now, at the top here, you can type in some preview text. So I went ahead and typed in a few numbers so I can see what these fonts look like with the numbers. So I can use this for the count. So I kind of like this one. It's called Head Human. I'm going to download this one. And then I'll type some text like Submachine Gun. And I'll search for a font that looks cool with that text. So this font, Kong font, looks kind of cool. I'm going to download that one. And I also like this one. It's called the Brittany Sans. I'll go ahead and download that as well. So I have 3 fonts now. Now, if you're going to use this in a game commercially, it's your responsibility to make sure you read the license information for these fonts. Make sure you know you have permission to use these for commercial use. And I can find these zip files in my downloads folder and extract them. And here in my assets folder, I'm going to create a new folder called fonts. This is on my D drive. And I'll extract these fonts to the fonts folder. Once they've all been extracted to the fonts folder on my machine, now I have all these fonts that I can import. So back here in our project, in the game folder in assets, I'm going to create a new folder called fonts. And in fonts, we can import all the fonts. So here they are. I'm just going to select all of them and click open. Now it's asking if I would like to create a new font asset using the font face as its default font. And I'm going to say yes, all. And I'll let it go ahead and create these fonts for me. And now we have a whole bunch of fonts. So now I'll go ahead and click Save All and save all of these fonts in our project. Now that they've all been added in the Pickup widget, I can select the text and I can choose to change the font, and now I have fonts to choose from. And I can go through and see how each one looks. Now I'm going to change the text to Submachine Gun. This way I'll see what it looks like with our font. I'm also going to go ahead and make our widget a little bit bigger to fit the text. So I'm seeing now that the Brittany Sans font is pretty cool, but I don't like the G. It looks like the G is a little too sharp for me. You might like it. In fact, you might want to try using an outline. I'm going to give it an outline with a value of 1 just to see if that looks better. I personally don't really like it. I'm going to put the outline back to 0. Whoops, not 9. 0. And I'm deciding not to use the Brittany Sans. I'm also not really liking the Kong font either. I do like the head human. I wish it was a little heavier, a little bit more bold, but I think that's okay. And now for the pickup text. I think I don't mind using the Brittany Sans font for the pickup text. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now for the e-text, I found this head human bold expand font, and I think that looks pretty good. So I think I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So that's how you can import fonts and change the fonts for your text in the UMG. So now we have a basic pickup widget blueprint, and in the next video, we're going to work on adding this to the weapon so that it pops up on the screen just above the weapon in the world. See you in the next video.